Hello everyone. Let's look at question number 5 on the paper that Mr. Hussein made for you guys. Let's read it first. In a newsagent's shop, the probability that any customer buys a newspaper is 0.6. In the same shop, the probability that any customer buys a magazine is 0.3. We want to complete the probability tree diagram. So what I'm going to do first is obviously fill it in. I'm going to read the branches. So the first branch is we either buy a newspaper or we don't buy a newspaper. So it's telling me in the question buying a newspaper is 0.6. So the probabilities do have to add up to 1, right? So if you buy a newspaper is 0.6, the probability that you won't buy a newspaper is 0.4 because that adds up to 1. And the second branch, shall we say, is that the probability of buying a magazine. So the probability of buying a magazine is 0.3. The probability that you won't buy a magazine is 1 minus 0.3, which is 0.7. The probabilities don't change because if I buy a newspaper or not is not going to influence whether I buy a magazine or not. So I'm just going to copy my probabilities like that, and I've completed my probability tree. It says, work out, yes, Cooper, I'm going to be done in a second. It says, work out the probability that a customer would buy either a magazine or a newspaper, but not both. So if we go down this branch like this, I'm buying a newspaper and I'm also buying a magazine. So that means I don't want to do that because it says not both. So I'm not going to include that. The next branch says buy a newspaper and does not buy a magazine. So that's what we want because we want to buy one of them but not both. And the next branch says does not buy a newspaper but buys a magazine. So we want that one as well because that means I'm buying one of them. The last possibility would be this one. I don't buy any. I don't buy a magazine and I don't buy a newspaper. But that's of no interest to us because we have to buy one of them. It doesn't matter which one it is. So I've identified what probabilities I'm working with and what branches I'm going down on. I'm going to do a bit of multiplication and addition now. So the probability of buying a newspaper and a magazine and not buying a magazine is 0.6 times 0.7, because in probability when we hear and, we multiply. So I've done this one. I buy a magazine and I don't buy a newspaper. I'm going to do the second branch as well. So what I like to say is I buy a newspaper and I don't buy a magazine, or because this or is prompting me to add, so this plus comes from saying or, I don't buy a newspaper, so that's 0.4 times 0.3, and I do buy a magazine. So I do my calculations, of course with my calculator. It's a calculator paper, so why the heck not? 0.6 times 0.7 plus 0.4 times 0.3. I'm getting 0.54, which I hope is the answer. So final answer, here you go. All right, and we're done. I will see you later. Good luck with your revision, everyone, and I hope you do amazingly well. There's still time, so let me know if there are any other questions you'd like me to go through. Bye.